The Great Leonopteryx, one of the best additions to the first movie. But even before the Thanator, I gotta say, it's one of the more interesting creatures. Like, top two, in my opinion, or at least top three, because I like the Great Leonopteryx, the Thanator, and the Hammerhead Titanothere. Especially the male one with all bright orange and the sheer size of them. It's absolutely crazy. And the fact that this thing was swinging around scorpion gunships like they were nothing and just smacking one into the other. Absolutely great and phenomenal. However, today, the Great Leonopteryx, in all of its glory, is going to be into one verse today. And that is the Jurassic Park verse. Yeah, we gonna throw it in there. And I think they'll be alright. And just avoid the skies and everyone should be fine. Now, the Great Leonopteryx itself, I believe it's kind of obvious in terms of scaling. We'll get to building level. I think that is pretty simple and pretty fair. And this is because it surpasses the Thanator. The Thanator has literally multiple statements of being able to take down a Tyrannosaurus very easily. Whether you want to say it's the Jurassic Park one or the real life one, completely up to you. And even then, we can even get a regular Tyrannosaurus to like building level with feats, weight, the weight of certain sauropods and stuff like that. And then kind of the way the blue whale works, calculate its kinetic force with its size and weight into one strike. But we do have creatures that easily would get there as well. Hammerhead Titanotheres are able to knock over trees and pretty much smash through them like a hot knife going through butter. And keep in mind, these trees would be larger than ours, and this would include redwood trees. Then we also have Soundblast Colossus, which are able to create shockwaves, which also puts it around building level. And then Thanators are able to take these guys down easily. Great Leonopteryx being the second, highest predator after the storm gliders. Yeah, I looked into these things, and it's kind of interesting when they say, I guess, Great Leonopteryx had nests to, never look up. Then you have these guys right here. So this means that in certain planes or in certain areas, Great Leonopteryx or Turok himself would definitely have to keep his wits about himself. But this does mean that, in certain areas, they do dominate the ecosystem, or at least, compete with the Thanator in terms of domination. But as for its diet, it does seem to mainly go for icrans, because again, their accessibility and the fact that, well, they are in perfect range for it. So believe it or not, we're going to throw into Jurassic World. We're going to start off with Isla Nublar and go to Isla Sorna. We're going to use Isla Nublar during the Jurassic World part, and we're going to use Isla Sorna during its prime, because somehow the island became uninhabitable for the dinosaurs there, despite the fact that they've been there for quite a while. So, believe it or not, the Great Leonopteryx is pretty much sent through a portal. Let's say it's a breeding group, right, of 10. 5 males and 5 females. Each of them going into this portal and just, well, they start looking for a source of food. Now, the first food I actually think they would take is definitely the pteranodons and the dimorphodons. The reason why I'm saying this is because the diet of Great Leonopteryx does kind of come from its original prey animal, the icran, which are noticeably bigger than the than the pteranodons and dimorphodons. But again, these would be more or less, suitable prey animals nevertheless. They can easily get swooped down, gobbled up, plus they are in more open areas nevertheless. And then, it's a pretty good prey animal. It's a very good start for the Great Leonopteryxes to just come down, snap them all up, and go about their business. This does mean that pteranodons may actually be pushed down to the more lower levels of Isla Nublar, and this is because, the Great Leonopteryxes do seem to nest and even live at the much higher altitudes. Very possible they may live on cliffs and stuff like that, depending. Maybe some open or jungle-like cliffs where they can easily, dive bomb prey and stuff like that. But nevertheless, I do think the pteranodons will likely be pushed down to the lower level areas just so that they can avoid their predator. This does mean that obviously their nesting habits will change and probably be more in, I guess you could say, in direct competition for, I guess you could say, territorial areas, be more be in more competitional areas or be in more direct competition with those that pretty much inhabit lower land areas. So dimorphodons and pteranodons may actually nest in things like trees, probably nest in more denser jungles and stuff like that. Just ways to avoid the great Leonopteryx. But believe it or not, they would actually be a suitable prey animal. So the great Leonopteryx already established itself as a dominant predator. However, obviously it is going to need some sort of meat. It's going to need a bit more to kind of keep its dietary needs up. And well, there are the smaller predators that can also provide a decent nourishment. Carnotauruses, even Toro as well, would also become victims. Unfortunate, but again, at the same time, hey, a predator gotta eat. Carnotaurus, Allosaurus, Baryonyx, Suchomimus, as they did inhabit the island, Metriacanthosaurus, likely before they went extinct somehow because of the competition, I guess, and the likes of Ceratosaurus. So, all of these medium to small predators are easily on the menu. I don't think there's going to be any if, ands, or buts about it when it comes to the fact that great Leonopteryx can simply just dive down, snatch one up in his claws, crush it, and then just, go ahead and be about its day. I don't think there's any issues with that. I don't think anyone's really going to complain in the slightest. But yeah, at the end of the day, they do just simply snatch up and eat these guys. I don't think there's too much of a problem with that here. I mean, they could definitely avoid them by going into jungles. The Baryonyx and Suchomimuses could probably just die beneath the waters before they get to them. And in all honesty, I don't really think there's like a swamp-based predator on Pandora that has the same aura or magnitude of scare, or the scare magnitude of a Deinosuchus or Purosaurus or even a Sarcosuchus, which I find absolutely funny, or even the Mosasaur. Obviously the Mosasaur would be avoided. It's just, blatantly right there. We're not going to it's not going to just fly down and be like, oh, look, I'm kind of curious, and just get snatched up by it. So no. But now we have on the much bigger prey animals, the sauropods, Brachiosaurus and Apatosaurus. Yeah, I think these guys would definitely be worthwhile meals here. I don't really see the other ones being a problem. Then you might say, what about Ankylosaurs? What about Triceratops and Sinoceratops? Maybe the Aranosaurs and the Parasaurs. Parasaurs are obviously going to be on the menu. They're so commonly hunted and treated as fodder in the Jurassic World franchise. Then you have the Ankylosaurs. Not only would they be a little bit too armored for it, but excuse me, but they live in like the more denser parts of the jungle. So the great Leonopteryx likely wouldn't even bump into them unless he got curious. Then we have Sinoceratops and Triceratops. If it preys on hammerhead titanotheres, it can easily get around the Triceratops and Sinoceratops and then just, swoop them up. Now, as for the competition, this would actually just be Rexy. And, well, I kind of do favor the great Leonopteryx. I think I kind of established that in my great Leonopteryx versus it was either the Indominus Rex or Spinosaurus video, where I said the great Leonopteryx would likely just body the Indominus Rex, if not just straight up hold its snout down, and possibly with those kind of talons and the kind of strength level it is doing, it would probably just ragdoll it a little bit, maybe just tear into it, or probably just grab it, lift it up, and then just throw it. So yeah, not going to be too much of a problem, and I don't think Rexy would be dumb enough to go against something that big. But now, let's talk about the whole Biosyn or Manticore capture or whatever, where they come to the island and capture all the dinosaurs. Now, I do believe there was a cutscene where the team was supposed to hunt a Quetzalcoatlus or Cryodracon or something similar to like that. And, well, they were going to capture it, but a T-Rex interfered, and then they wind up capturing both of them, with the Pteranodon unfortunately being injured because it got its wing bitten by the Tyrannosaurus. So, do I really see them capturing a population of great Leonopteryxes? No. As a matter of fact, I think the capturing of, the Isla Nublar or, the whole dinosaur evacuation process would go absolutely to hell, in all honesty. Excuse my language. But the thing about it is, they I don't even think they even captured the Quetzalcoatlus. I think they lured it there and it just decided to stay. That might be how they do the Great Leonopteryx. But again, this thing could grab helicopters, throw them around, and swing them into each other. Much heavier helicopters, mind you. The only way I could actually see it leaving is if it follows the pteranodons, meaning now it has the open world to explore. And believe it or not, I do think it may even go to like some tropical or maybe some like jungly like regions, meaning that things like elephants, gorillas, maybe even some African jungles as well could likely sustain it. But again, it would need much bigger prey, meaning the likes of elephants, rhinos, water buffaloes, and hippos would likely be this thing's, main prey animals. Hippos could definitely get away, but again, once they come onto land, hey, it's free real estate after that. You kind of just did yourself in. And pretty much the other carnivores as well that are meant to appear, like Altispinax, the Stegosaurus, sorry, not carnivores, the other dinosaurs, Altispinax, Stegosaurus, Suchomimus, Majungasaurus, and Monolophosauruses and stuff like that. All these creatures running around in other regions definitely will provide a decent meal for the the Great Leonopteryx. You might say, oh, well, what about humans? Believe it or not, they barely attacked the Na'vi. The only time a Na'vi actually got killed by a Great Leonopteryx in the lore was when one stole its egg, and it just simply swooped down, pierced the guy's back, and then actually, got its egg back and ate the guy. So, yeah, as long as people don't mess with its nest, it won't mess with humans. But we know how humans are. Unfortunately, they're going to make the wrong decision. And guess what? Someone's going to steal an egg, and now we have a literal crash out on our hands. So, yeah, people don't mess with the eggs. Stop messing with the nests, please. I would hate to have to deal with this thing if I was in the Jurassic World verse, so please let it be. But during the things like, the dinosaurs invading cities and stuff like that, them also being able to likely snatch up any carnivores and take them to their own nests, I do think by that time, Biosyn would have figured out how to lure them to their valley, and, have them live there. There's a bunch of mountainous ranges and stuff like that, and then there are new creatures to prey on, such as the Dreadnoughtus. Now, at this point, I do think the Great Leonopteryx would have had probably a decent mating season, and putting, a good, like around 5 mating pairs of males and female Great Leonopteryxes, yeah, this means the population would have definitely grown at this point, and with them growing up alongside dinosaurs, this newer population will likely have developed hunting strategies in order to take down even bigger dinosaurs, meaning the likes of Dreadnoughtus, and keep in mind the Giga can hunt them by itself, and yeah, things like Nasutoceratops, Iguanodon, any new herbivore to the scene like Brachiosauruses in, different areas and stuff like that, I think it is safe, fair and safe to say that the Great Leonopteryx would just kind of continue its own thing. Probably be a lot more deadlier now that it's had time to really adjust to the new lifestyle. So this means that in Biosyn Valley, Rexy would still be there and likely just keep to the more denser forest. You also have Buck and Doe, and if Junior is somehow there, all grown up and stuff like that. Plus, I have heard the new theory that the Tyrannosaurus in the Rebirth movie is Junior, which I would be for that, but then they would likely have to explain how he survived that long. It's very possible they kept him like cryostasis or something like that, because again, he is one of the rarest, infants in the world, and so they probably would have kept him for like research, and then once he hatches, he adjusts to this more dangerous island and just becomes the GOAT. I ain't got no problem with that. But again, things like the Giga, the Rexes, the Therizino may actually just be like the safest one here, considering it just lives in the more denser parts of the forest. So basically, I definitely think the dinosaurs would have, or the Great Leonopteryx would have to deal with more open land or more visible prey animals. But again, it's It is what it is. What they choose to hunt is what they're going to choose to hunt at this point. But again, with them actually adjusting to dinosaurs, it's very possible that some of them could specialize in taking down sauropods. However, more direct competition may come from the Quetzalcoatlus, considering the sheer fact that that thing is huge. For every amount of reasons, that is just huge for no reason. It's just that creature is just absolutely monstrous altogether. But in all honesty, how do I feel like the Great Leonopteryx would do in Jurassic World? I think it would do great. I think it would do just fine. It'd be terrifying to come across in the wild, and I can only imagine what the campers have to deal with, as long as they don't really go into the open plain areas, or, you know, it's very possible that they could likely develop the things that black kites do, or these black hawks do in Africa, and use forest fires to their advantage. I think that would actually be scary if they're the ones to actually start the biosyn forest fire, just so that they can have access or easier access to prey. I mean, Pandora creatures are definitely intelligent and, you know, understand social behaviors and stuff like that, and are even able to work together with other creatures. Like we see Viper Wolves working with Thanators, Hammerhead Titanotheres and Icrans working alongside the Great Leonopteryx. That, like, they understand something. They understand when their home is being invaded and stuff like that. So I don't see it being too much of a problem, in my opinion, for the Great Leonopteryx to survive here. But that's going to be all for today, you guys. Be sure to comment down below, like and subscribe, and share it to friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I hope you guys have a blessed day. Peace.